I think maybe I'll start. I don't know. This is an attempt at a first installment of a video I'll keep to 10 minutes or less about what I've worked on and today on my project, on my software projects, in the Tilelab. What's on my mind is the last thing I worked on. But what did I work on before today? Well, I was dealing with the fact that it seemed to hang if you scanned, like if you scanned a town where it was 10 people or something, it would get all hung up. And I have a thing on my board back there about make sure the spider handles scan storms. Like if you clicked a lot of times or you're just scanning too much. But this was supposed to be a controlled scan, and I was blowing the stack and all sorts of stuff. So I tracked that down to my event system in the Novum 9 JavaScript interface package or library, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it was calling all these things in a blocking manner. What you can okay, so in my interface, everything is a different, what I call pod. Like the map is different from the thing that shows the item information, is different from the scanner, is different from the, terminal. But they have to communicate to each other, right? There's invisible components like the spider itself. It wants to send off an event that's going to show up on the map. So how do we do that? Well, what we do is I have this invisible component or whatever, the Novum controller, and you can register a callback there. You give it the name of your callback and a function, and then it'll call that callback, and there's a contract between the caller and the callee about what the arguments will be. And I was doing that all in the direct stack. So the problem is that when you have hundreds of events, of like comment events, and then that can generate another event, there was problems with all of that. So I want to change that to make it an indirect call, which in JavaScript I can do with the set timeout call. So I say, hey, call this in a few milliseconds, 10, 20 milliseconds, instead of right away, right? Because then it goes into a queue and it gets its own call stack and so on. But one problem is I was using the same mechanism, or the problem, to get pointers to objects to other components. Those can't be done through set timeout because I want those to return values right away. So I split the function in two, and I have an execute inline function now that executes the callback inline and can return a value or a set of values. Excuse me. And I have just execute, which doesn't expect a return value and therefore can do things in a deferred manner. And it really helps, so that was good. The other thing I was working on today is I want to be able to dump, what I've shown so far in terms of the relationship and video scanning, that's all in the browser. None of that goes to the server. So I want to update the server with some of this information, like, hey, there's a new video from this guy, and hey, here's the, relationship or whatever. Well, I found an interesting thing. If I scan just one person, now that's 10 videos, up to 25 comments each video. So if all their videos had more than 25 comments, it'd be 250 comments, 10 videos, one user. Turns out that's like, well, it was a huge amount. I cut it in half, and then I cut it in half again, and it's still like half a megabyte. One person, their latest 10 videos, all the information about the comments. That seems like a lot. So the last thing I was doing was trying to cut that amount of information down. I've got various ways, but the main problem is that part of that information is the video entry that YouTube sends back, which is a little bit verbose. I mean, I can get rid of it. It's 3 or 4K, and I could probably turn that down to a K. But I like having it around. For one thing, if they change what's in that entry, I'd still have a record of it. But I don't want one user sending megabytes and megabytes of information up. It also shows that in terms of storing things on the server, since multiple users would be sending the same scanning information, I need to have a message, I've realized, that says, hey, I have information on these videos. Do you have them? And the server has to be able to say, well, I want this one, this one, this one. Yesterday, I had another major performance problem. Basically, my system was maxing out my CPU, and not literally, but if I'm trying to run anything else, it really was using too much CPU. So I was trying to start it with different frame rates. The lower frame rates, of course, should save CPU time, but it wasn't recognizing that. What I use is a system called CAAT. It is, let me just look it up. It's a hierarchical graph. I think the guy that writes it does not speak English. There's not great documentation, but the code itself is awesome. So that's what I did. I went into the code. It's the canvas. It doesn't say here. Anyway, it uses a JavaScript canvas to do a there's a director-based scene graph. That's what it is. It's a scene graph. So anyway, you're supposed to be able to tell it what frame rate you want, but it was ignoring that and just doing it. So I had to go into the source code and I changed it, because my thing, I'm not really using that much animation. I did for a while with the little squares going across, but I'm not even using that. It's a still shot. I obviously don't need a high frame rate. I can at least throttle it up and down. And the thing is, it's using this render animation frame browser call, and it was just trying to run at max. So I went into the code, I changed it so that instead of trying to run at 60 frames a second, it runs at 10, and it uses hardly any CPU doing that, so that's good. That's one thing I did. Also, yesterday I smoothed out the day before this monitoring thing where it shows you what it's doing, and the things it's doing, it enters them over there in the monitor, and they fade out as they finish. I haven't been working on the server side much. Mostly it's been the JavaScript application lately, but I'm about to add to the server because I want to be able to save all these videos and comments and YouTube users on the server. And I could already do that if I save them one at a time, but I want to do this bulk submission. I want to be able to submit many at once. And then I'm also going to have to make this handshaking language so that the client, your browser, says, hey, I have new information on this. And the browser, and the server rather, is able to go, okay, that's all your new information. Well, I like this, this, and this. So that's 9 minutes and a half. So that's my update from the Tilelab.